Uh, all right, here we go. Hi, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Guys, my name is Lovey and I'm alcoholic. And it is only by the grace of God and Alcoholics Anonymous that I am alive, sober, and recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. So, guys, I have a grand sponsor who absolutely insists that I do this. Just give me a second here. Rule 62, right? Don't take yourself so damn seriously. You know what? We are not a glum lot, and we absolutely, unequivocally insist on enjoying life. I get to do that today. I get to put on a red nose and be silly in front of you because I am just another bozo on the bus, right? But I have found a way of living, a design for living that just allows me to be my most authentic self. I have a sobriety date. It is September the 7th of 2015. And in that unbelievably short amount of time, there has been no need or obsession to pick up a drink. I have a sponsor who has a sponsor who has a sponsor who has a sponsor ad infinitum, and I sponsor sponsors. And guys, this one time I complained about a GSR meeting. Now I got a service sponsor. So be careful what you complain to your sponsors about. I have a home group. I am a member of good standing in my home group. It is known as the Global Main Purpose Group. We meet Tuesday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I went from my home group to here. We are a big book study. Everyone is invited. And please let me know if you want information on that meeting. I'm happy to share that with you. And Alice was one of our co-facilitators maybe about 18 months or 2 years ago. But guys, I need to tell you that due to the power of amends, I get to live on the beautiful, beautiful island of Bermuda. And if you find yourself on my beautiful island and you want to go to a meeting, please, please, please let me know. I am more than happy to make those arrangements, or if I'm not there, to have somebody take you. And conversely, if you find yourself in New England, if you're sort of in the Bridgeport, Hartford, Connecticut area and you want to go to a meeting, please, 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 please let me know. Alice, thank you so much for asking me, and Allie as well. And thank you to this group for hosting this meeting. What you're going to hear, guys, is 100% my experience and my truth. I have nothing else to share with you, right? Like, I don't know anything about God. I don't know anything about the big book. I don't know anything about Alcoholics Anonymous. All I can share with you is my experience with those things, right? I'm a fellow traveler on this journey, right? And we do this shoulder to shoulder, and we suit up and we show up, and we're there for everybody, or we're there for each other. So as it was read, step 11, right? Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, as we understood him, praying only for the knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. So guys, in We Agnostics, right, it talks about the lack of power, which was our dilemma. And I had to find a power by which I could live. And I had to understand that I had this spiritual malady, right? I had a giant God-sized hole in the middle of my heart. And alcohol filled that hole perfectly, right? It filled it up, all the little nicks and crannies. Now, there were times that I could put props in my life so that I didn't drink, but that hole was still there. And I filled it with food, mashed potatoes and gravy. I filled it with sex. I filled it with adrenaline. I filled it with shoes, lots and lots of really fabulous shoes, right? But this hole still existed and nothing seemed to fill it. When I filled it with alcohol, it remained full for just a small period of time, and then it would drain and I would have to fill it up again, right? You see, guys, I learned in Alcoholics Anonymous that alcohol is not my problem. It has never been my problem. It was my solution. You see, alcohol provided relief in sobriety, right? It provided the relief for my sobriety. And in sobriety, there's nothing between you and me, and nothing between me and life, right? So if I have a spiritual malady, I need a spiritual solution, not a chemical solution, right? And if this malady is the result of being, selfish and self-centered, then unselfishness must be what recovery looks like. But our book tells me that I can't be unselfish, right? In as much as that I can't stop drinking on my own power. If I had any power, poof, right? I would render myself unselfish and sober. Lack of power is my problem, guys. Lack of power is my dilemma. So if I'm powerless, I need to find a power greater than me, which will allow me to live a sane, happy, and useful life. And in my experience, only my experience, I cannot be sane, serene, and happy without being useful. Right. And page 89 of our book talks about that, right? That life will take on new meaning. To see a fellowship grow up, this is an experience you must not miss, right? Intensive work with other alcoholics, frequent contact with newcomers and with each other is the bright spot of our lives, right? I get to be wholly useful. So guys, I am a pilot, right? And where do pilots hang out? Up there, right? And in our Judeo-Christian society, where does God live? Up there, right? For a long time, I thought I was God, right? And my sponsor told me, see, because I had all of your lives in at my hands, right? You were all you vested this authority in me as your pilot, right? And my sponsor made it very clear that not only was I not God, right? I wasn't a demigod, and I wasn't even a goddess. Oh my goodness, right? Talk about the deflation of the ego right then and there. But when I was new, my sponsor said to me, Lovey, do you now believe in God? Nope, absolutely not, right? I didn't. It just wasn't part of my experience. But then my sponsor asked me this question. Are you willing, Lovey, are you willing to believe in a power greater than you? Yes, kind of, sort of, maybe. Yeah, okay, I'll do it. I'll try it, right? And our big book tells me to lay aside prejudice, right? That I need to be willing and to seek. So I did what the big book said, right? I took the action. And when I take the action, regardless about how I felt about it, right? I prayed to a power I didn't believe in. And my friend Laura in Texas says that what you believe, right? What I believe has nothing to do with staying sober. How I feel about it has nothing to do with staying sober. Even what I think about it has nothing to do with staying sober. It's entirely contingent on the action that I take, right? It's like me going to the gym. I don't have to like it. I don't have to believe that it'll work. But when I do it, guess what? I start to feel better. I start to lose weight. I start to have more endurance. Guys, for me and only for me, AA stands for action and accountability. I don't get struck sober by sitting in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. I got to do the work. I got to follow the instructions, right? The word action is used 22 times in the first 164 pages of the big book and intimated another 30 times. Right? So I've got this cake mix or this brownie mix. If I want these brownies, I have to follow these directions. I can't start substituting stuff, right? I can't start saying, oh, well, 2/3 a cup of oil. That's a lot of oil. I'm going to use applesauce. Oh, well, there's 2 eggs. Well, you know what? My son-in-law is vegan. I'm going to use egg substitute. You know what? This doesn't look chocolatey enough. So I'm going to throw in a handful of chocolate chips, right? I need to follow the directions. I need to take the action and do exactly what this thing says. Because if I don't oil and grease my pan, guess what? The brownies stick and then I've ruined the recipe, right? So it's really important for someone like me to take the action as directed. Now, guys, I have a practice today that works for me. And step 12 says, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, right? What I can tell you is that I'm in a relationship with a power today that is gracious, loving, extraordinary, kind, forgiving, and compassionate, right? Every morning when I wake up, I ask God to direct my thinking, right? Please, please, please let it be divorced of self-pity, self-seeking, or dishonest motives, right? See, left to my own devices, I would choose self, right? I would choose the easy way out, right? I would lie, I would cheat, I would steal, right? Because that's easy for me. Taking the direction of divorcing myself from self-pity, self-seeking, or dishonest motives is something unbelievably transformative in my life. I also ask, please, God, give me an intuitive thought or action, right? Because I need to understand that I can't do this by myself. That my thinking, the power that I get from my higher power allows me, right, to work for him, right? That my third step tells me that I now have a fiduciary responsibility, that God is my director, my employer, and I am merely his agent. I do what he needs and asks me to do, right? I pray that to help me relax and take it easy, right? Don't take myself so damn seriously, right? Just to be one of, to be a small part of a much larger whole. Please show me throughout the day what my next step should be and give me whatever I need to solve problems that may arise, right? God, please help me love your kids. That kind of sounds a whole lot like page 86, right? So then it says on awakening, let us think, right? Let us think about the 24 hours ahead, right? See, here I'm taking the action and I connect with this power, whether I feel it or not, right? It's like my cell phone. At night, I plug it in, right? I plug it in and it charges. And there are steps that I have to take to stay connected in this phone, right? I have to go into settings. I have to scroll to the setting. I have to scroll to the cellular button. I need to take it off airplane mode because I'm always on an airplane, right? And I hit cellular and poof, guess what? I'm connected. I'm connected, right? And that means that I can text Alice. It means that I can send, Deb some funny memes on Facebook. It means I can download really fabulous recipes, for my husband. And just because I don't see a message on my phone does not mean that I'm not connected. I am connected because I took the action that's outlined in my big book, right? And when a message does pop up, poof, there it is. But I don't have to worry that I'm not connected. I'm connected because I took the action. Now, these are radio waves. I can't feel them. I can't see them. I can't taste them. But guess what? They're there. I know they're there because I have this, right? I could text and send funnies to any one of you, and you will get the message. You can text me back and I will get the message. And then in the book, it says, we pause throughout the day when we are agitated or doubtful. Guys, I'm still a work in progress. I'm rarely doubtful because I am always right. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. My sponsor told me that until further notice, my husband is always right and I am always wrong, even when I'm right? Talk about a humbling experience. And my husband has been invited to text my sponsor and tattle on me when I'm not behaving well. Guess what? He does regularly. And my sponsor reminds me to pray the pause, right? Pray the pause in my life. See, because when I invite my higher power into my marriage, all of those buttons my husband has installed seem very insignificant, right? I didn't do that. I don't have the ability to do that. That's because my higher power, my God, is working in my life because I took the action. And I don't want to break in a new sponsor. So I do what my sponsor tells me to do because it's just easier to follow directions, right? Because it takes so much work to break in a new sponsor. So guys, what began to happen for me is that when I started taking these actions in the morning, I'm able to stay connected to this power throughout my day, right? That conversation that I started in the morning continues throughout the rest of my day. Because when I do that, I keep my eyes on God and my thoughts on God, right? And not on me and not on you, right? Because I can sit here and go, you know what? Adrian, what are you doing over there? And Ginny, what are you doing? Right? But that's none of my business, right? That is none of my business. My business is to keep my eyes on God so that I know how to behave. You see, and when I do that, I get to surrender my opinion, my judgment, and what I think I know about you and what I think I know about God. So probably like all of you, I run into a lot of people every day, and every day I exchange, hello, how are you, without much substance, hey, how are you? Good to see you, right? It's just a social norm that we have. It's what I do, right? Now, I don't know these people. I don't know them well at all, and it's hard to get to know someone when I just say good morning good morning in the morning, and then have a nice day in the afternoon, right? And there are people that I see every single day, right? And we chit chat a little bit about this, that, or the other thing. But the exchange is pleasant, and I look forward to it. But they're not friends, right? They could be, but they're not. But when I take the time to sit down and get to know someone, I learn about them. There is an exchange, a mutual exchange of information. I ask questions and then I stop and I listen for an answer, right? I don't like mow over them. I identify, I relate, and I share similar experiences or feelings, right? That may have been that they may have evoked. And then the roles are reversed, right? They ask a question and I answer. And before long, we have a relationship. And over time, this exchange becomes intimate. We start discussing personal details and revealing unknown truths about ourselves. And with time, I learn to trust this person, right? I learn to trust this person with my feelings, with my heart. And with time, I come to value this person's opinion and their guidance. And with time, I consider this person a significant part of my life. But it takes action on my part to develop and cultivate a friendship. Guys, my relationship with God is no different, right? Just saying thank you in the morning and thank you in the evening, or just using rote prayers, for me is not engaging in a personal relationship. I need to take the time to interact, to ask questions, right? Prayer. I need to wait for the answers. I get that through meditation, and I need to continue to build, cultivate, and nurture the relationship, right? We're still getting to know each other. I'm learning to trust God, right? Through my third step, I'm learning to trust God. And through the seventh step, God is learning to trust me, right? Can God trust me with his kids? Can he rely on me to put his kids first? Right? There was a time when that was absolutely impossible. I couldn't be trusted with anybody or anything, right? But today, God is trusting me with you, right? And it's this burgeoning friendship. And guys, there are watershed moments, right? When these tests are offered and met. And page 77 of our book says that my real purpose, right? My real purpose as a human being is to fit myself to be of maximum service to God and the people about me. Now, to fit myself is not very convenient. It is not very comfortable. It's like taking 11 linebackers and putting them in the Fiat, right? It can be done, but it's not very comfortable. But good, solid friendships, there are inconveniences, right? And there are things that we gladly do for each other despite all of that, right? Can God trust me with his kids? So I have an idea of how things are supposed to go, right? So I'm going to tell you that I have a very elderly mother-in-law. She's quite frail, quite sick. And my sister-in-law sold her house, moved in with my mother-in-law. And but my sister-in-law's oldest daughter is having a baby, and she is due. Now, I was in Toronto over the weekend. Allie and I just sort of exchanged places, and so I was supposed to have a flight to Toronto from JFK. My flight was canceled, and it was also when unfortunate when that helicopter crashed into the Hudson River. And my husband calls me, says, you know what, I want you to drive. Yeah, but I don't want to drive. He goes, please drive. Okay, fine. I drive because my husband's always right. So I drive up and it's snowing and I cross the border. And just as I'm getting to the border, my sister-in-law calls me and tells me, Marley's in labor. I'm going to go take care of Marley. Now, my mother-in-law is absolutely unattended. What are we going to do? Neither brother can come and take care of her, right? An intuitive thought or action. Can God trust me with his kids? I went to the conference. I spoke at 9 a.m. I shared my story with them. And then I said, guys, I have to go because I get today to suit up and show up because I am reliable, because God trusts me with his kids and I get to do that. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience for me. The baby still hasn't arrived yet, by the way. And my sister-in-law came back home, but that's okay. So then the book says when we retire at night, right? At night, again, I've got directions. It asks me to review my day. And I do a nightly written inventory, and I send that to my sponsor. And it asks me, was I resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Yeah, usually, right? But step 10 helps me to take care of those situations, right? Including an apology if one is indicated, because I don't like to apologize, but I do if I have to, right? Because I need to maintain this relationship with God. Because what I did at the beginning to stay sober is not what I need to do now, right? My illness is progressive, and so my spiritual fitness also has to be progressive. It needs to stay in front of my illness. So I do this work, right? See, for me, you guys, step 11 is like a daily housekeeping, right? It's like making the bed, sweeping the floor, folding the towels. It's done daily so that I'm happy and useful in my life, right? So I don't have to worry about things. Step 10 is the emergency cleanup aisle on, on aisle 5, right? This is when I break an egg or spill maple syrup. Those things need to be cleaned up immediately. It goes on to say, have I kept something to myself which I should discuss with another person at once? See, guys, I have to be honest with my sponsor. I have to be honest with my God squad, with my sobriety network, right? And it's not always about sharing the negative things that are going on in my life, but the positive, healthy ones as well, right? So when I do a 10 step and I complain about my husband, right? You guys, after a time, are going to think he's just an unthinking ogre, right? But what I don't tell you is that he brought me flowers. What I don't tell you is that he washed the dishes. What I don't tell you is that he took me to the airport and dropped me off. I don't tell you that he held my hand when we walked, right? But I have to share the good and the healthy and the positive, and I'm able to do that in my God squad. Now here it goes, right? Was I kind and loving towards all? All, A, capital L, capital all, right? Not just some of you, but all of you. Even the guy I don't like, right? Because we all have one of those. It's like, I don't really like you, right? It's how do I behave when I'm at JFK or Pearson or Miami International on the busiest travel day of the year? How do I behave on the 401 when it's a Friday night in July and everybody is heading to the cottage, right? How do I behave standing in line behind a little old lady paying in coupons and pennies? And there was someplace I had to be 30 minutes ago, right? How do I behave? Usually I can say I was kind and loving in action, right? Guys, I have learned how to behave well in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. I can usually behave well in most situations. But what about my thoughts, right? What is my thinking doing? Am I kind and loving in my thoughts? Or am I just looking at you smiling and character assassinating you while I bat my pretty baby blue eyelashes or my eyelashes, right? See, this is the real test for me today. Am I kind and loving? Am I compassionate in my thoughts? What could have been done better? For me, this is about connection, right? If I hide out in dark places, like behind a cement wall, I can't get connected to my phone. I'm not able to text you, right? Have you ever noticed that you go to like Costco and you want to send a message to somebody, hey, do I have enough carrots? You can't get through because my connection is blocked, right? So I need to ask myself, did I spend enough time in communication and in action with God? Do I continue to invite God in everything I do? Hey, God, you know what? I'm going to the grocery store. Jump in the car. Want to come along, right? Put your seatbelt on though, right? Because I still think I'm playing God. Did I love God's kids, right? There's a line in our book that says, was I, love and tolerance of others is our code. Love and tolerance of others is our code. Guys, for me, I cannot use the word tolerance. For me, tolerance comes from a place of spiritual hubris. I'm just putting up with you and your nonsense, right? It's me putting up with you. But if I substitute the word tolerance for compassion, I'm now coming from a completely different place. I'm putting myself in your shoes. I'm viewing the world through your lenses. That allows me to fall in love with you and to be one with you, that I get to help you, that I get to be part of your life, right? It goes on to say, Am I living the best life? And am I grateful for the blessings? Right? I can't sit in woe is me. See, guys, I really truly believe that happiness is a moral obligation. And when it's a moral obligation, right, I can't, if I'm not living in that obligation of happiness, then I'm diminishing my usefulness to you and to God, right? And when I follow those directions, great things happen. You see, guys, today I know without a doubt that my only job is to care for God's kids right here, right now, on their journey, right? Not my journey, on their journey with love and compassion without judgment or opinion. Not always easy. And I fail at it sometimes, but it is a practice. It's something that I do intentionally every single day. I strive to do it. You know, my sponsor tells me that I can pretend to care, but I can't pretend to show up, right? I get to show up for people in my life today, right? It's more than just saying, oh, I'm so sorry. What can I do? It is showing up with a casserole. It is writing a letter. It is, you know, giving you a ride, whatever it is. I can pretend to care, but I can't pretend to show up. Again, for me, it's about action, right? It's always going to be about action. On bottom of page 87, it says, we constantly remind ourselves we are no longer running the show. I don't like that because I think I should run the show, right? Here's a little thing. So when I'm commanding an aircraft, right, I think I'm in charge. We actually even have a title for it, captain or PIC, pilot in charge, right? And I have the controls. I'm the big boss, right? Your own little minions riding along with me. But here's the reality, guys. Air traffic control is in charge, right? They tell me what to do because they have a much larger scope of the skies. I can only see so many nautical miles ahead of me, right? And I don't have to like it when I'm vectored around a storm that I can't see, and I don't have to understand why air traffic control is asking me to increase my altitude, and I don't have to believe that they're right. But if I'm to have a safe and happy outcome, I must follow those directions. I must follow those instructions, right? And if I don't take the action, we all die with our boots on, right? So this is one of the things that I have learned, right? So just because I think I'm in charge doesn't mean I am. There's always something, God is much greater than that. God can see things way beyond I can, right? God can see things that are, hundreds, thousands, millions of years into the future. Now, I'm going to finish with this. How many of us understand aviation mechanics? Like, how many of you can actually physically fix an aircraft? There's always one of you in the crowd, right? How many of you understand aerodynamics, the coefficient of lift, for instance? Right. How many of you can actually physically fly that aircraft? But has that stopped any of you from getting on a plane at JFK and flying to Paris? Has that stopped any of you from getting on a plane in Toronto and flying to Miami? No, absolutely not, right? So you don't have to understand how an airplane flies in order for it to work in your life, right? What do? You get on, you sit down, you put on your seatbelt, you shut up, and you enjoy the flight, trusting that that aircraft is going to get you from point A to point B, right? Like my phone, I can't see, feel, hear, or taste radio waves. I don't know how my phone works, right? I can't see God, but I know God works in my life. I know God works in my life, and I don't have to understand how that happens, right? I just have to follow the directions. Thank you so much, right? And when I follow those directions exactly as indicated and take the action, I am rendered sober, sane, and serene, and I get to be wholly useful, right? See, guys, as a result of that, I get to be a wife, a mother, a daughter, a sister, a grandmother. I get to be a friend, a sponsor, and more importantly, I get to be a proud, sober woman in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I get to be a child of God. So if you guys will just allow me, I'm going to finish I didn't follow all of Alice's instructions, so I'm sorry. So I don't even know if this is a part of the meeting, but I'd like to finish with the prayer of St. Francis found on page 99 of our 12 and 12, because really, truly, when I do this, right, when I do this, I am doing the very best that I can to be an agent of God, to care for God's kids, to be kind and loving all the time. Lord, make me a channel of thy peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love, that where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness, that where there is discord, I may bring harmony, that where there is error, I may bring truth, that where there is doubt, I may bring faith, that where there is despair, I may bring hope, that where there are shadows, I may bring light, that where there is sadness, I may bring joy. Lord, grant that I may seek rather to comfort than to be comforted, to understand than to be understood, to love than to be loved. For it is by self-forgetting that one finds, and it is by forgiving that one is forgiven, and it's by dying that one awakens to eternal life. Amen. Guys, thank you so much for allowing me to be useful today, and thank you so much for my sobriety.
I appreciate you so much. So we've got hands. We've got about 17 minutes for the Q&A. Lovey put out a lot of really powerful information and some great analogies. So let's get more out of her. John D., you're up.
John, alcoholic Lovey. I just want to thank you. You really struck a chord when you said invite God into the relationship. Because my sponsor, my first sponsor, the old man, that was 28 years ago. I'm not sober 28 years, but he said, invite God into the bedroom, John, see what happens. And I used to watch that guy light up. And I understand what you're talking about. I tell my wife the same thing, invite God into the bedroom and see what happens in that relationship. And I just want to say thank you very much. I really don't have a question. Well, who told you that? Yeah, I guess your sponsor. But I love that because I've never heard that from anybody else except the old man. He's gone now to the meeting in the sky. But I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Hi, my name is Deb. I'm an alcoholic. Lovey, thank you so much. I too do not have a question. I love step 10, clean up on aisle 5. That's a good one. That was great. You, to me, are the epitome of being kind to God's kids. I got to spend time with you at a conference and be in the airport with you and watch how you talk to people, how you interacted with people. It's like I like to emulate you, but I got to tell this story where we're both getting on the same plane because of your connections. You and I were the first two people to get on the plane, and I had such ego inflation. Wasn't that good for my ego deflation to feel that special? But it's how you make people feel. You really are. You are the 10th step. You are the 11th step. You are the 12th step. And I love you so much. Thank you. Love you so much.
Thank you, Deb. My loved one. Come on in, Kelly.
Good evening, family. Alice, I did not want to raise my hand. Doggone it. Lovey, thank you so much for this message. You stepped all on my toes. You had me at I'm looking for relief, and I'm in the process of that now. Am I willing? Yes. I have a new understanding of praying for willingness. But what really got me with what you said, I mean, you said a lot of things and I took a lot of notes. The action and accountability, you know. I got to take action. And you said that, I can pretend to care, but I can't pretend to show up, and part of what I've been told, what I've been taught in AA is part of me getting better is me showing up. And I haven't been showing up. I've been showing up where it's convenient for me, but not where it's convenient for other people. Um, you don't have to understand how an airplane flies to know that the airplane works. Trust, faith, belief in my higher power. I have to do more work on my spiritual side. But what I want to ask you about is the consistency. You know, you talked about the work is in between and staying consistent with the action and accountability. How do you stay consistent in those areas where it's troublesome? And your prayer and your meditation, how do you stay consistent?
That's a great question. I have daily adult supervision and I have a God squad, right? And I unburden and I share that with them, and they give me constructive um, advice and suggestions. But it's about always taking that action because, like I said, sometimes we don't feel connected to our higher power. But like my phone, if I take the action, if it's plugged in, if my cellular service is on, I can usually get service and I can usually get that message out. So it's just about consistency. Just keep suiting up and showing up and keep doing the work.
Thank you, Lovey. My friend Bill. Bill, you are up next. Come on in. Hopefully you have a question too.
Well, I have a question. I might have two questions, but first I want to wish Lovey a happy holiday and everyone else. And I really, because we came up from two different schools, if I understand correctly. But I like what you said about spending time with God. And sometimes I can get so immersed in Alcoholics Anonymous that maybe I forget about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and it might just be the same God. How much time do I spend getting to know him? And so the question is, have you ever seen a kid around Christmas tree with a gift under the tree and he can't open it till the 25th? I want to know what's in the envelope you sent me that I can't open for 2 more days, Lovey. I love you, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for being here. Miley, so good to see you, Miley.
Hey everyone, my name is Miley. I'm an alcoholic and I'm so happy to be here. And wow, so many of my favorite people are here. And Lovey, I just always really enjoy you because I have pretty high energy around AA too. But it's fun. I really enjoy hearing you because you got that energy of like, I'm psyched for AA. Anyway, what I do have a question for you. And first a confession. So I've been sober for quite some time. And I'll just go ahead and say it. I've been sober for 40 years and I have never done written 10 steps. Never. It wasn't really how I was raised. And frankly, it was not something that I really wanted to do. And you know how service keeps us sober is that I was invited, I'm going to speak in Dallas, and they said, hey, while you're here, can you do a 10-step workshop? And you know what my arrogant self said? I said, I can talk about anything. And so you know what? I started doing a written 10 step and it has been fantastic. It has really been great. And I just want to say, my thought was, well, I'm doing it in my head. Okay, no. Why? Because I had reasons. Let's just say I thought it was going to be worse. I thought it was going to be a big bummer. I started writing it down and you know what? It's been a relief and I think about it throughout the day. So my question for you is, I'm wondering for you about, and I also share it with two people too, which also makes it powerful. My question for you is, what's your experience as far as writing down the 10th step? And maybe you've done that since day one, I don't know, but writing it down as opposed to sort of doing a imaginary inventory in my head. And it sounds like you also share it too. And so I'm interested in that and
Oh,
yeah, writing it down and sharing it.
so good to see you, Miley.
Thanks.
So, the book tells me that a solitary self-appraisal is insufficient, right? So when I'm doing it in my head, it's just about me. It's me, 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 me. Oh yeah, I did great today. And for me, a 10th step is, a spot check inventory. I'm really annoyed at my husband. He didn't do something or other. And I will go through the columns, right? Why am I angry? What instincts is it triggering? And what was my mistake in it? What are my character defects? Was there fear? Do I owe an apology, right? And that's an immediate thing. And I send it off to my sponsor. When I look at it, I usually say, oh, it's because I'm in self. It's all about me, all about me. And then the 11th step, that's that nightly inventory where I get to sort of, I review my day, right? Was I resentful? Yes, resolved it with a 10 step. Or no, it wasn't resolved. I need to work on this a little bit more. Was I self-seeking? Was I selfish? You know, I go through all of those questions. And, but I also talk about the really great things that have happened in my day, right? I give a little synopsis of that and I send that to my sponsor, but I also send it to all my sponsees and to my God squad, right? I share it with everybody because I'm human, I make mistakes, I'm full of faults, foibles, and flaws, but I also do a lot of good things during the day, right? I stay connected, I help other people. I do up blessing bags and I hand those out. And so those are the actions that I take. And then I can look at, you know, I look at the black words on the white paper, right? This is what I do. Huh, you know what? I'm not the same person I was when I first got sober, right? I'm not the person I was when I was drinking, because today I get to be wholly useful. And I can see that reflected in that written 10th, in those written 11 steps. And my sponsor then has something to gauge it by, right? When I'm being really honest, my sponsor can go, huh, you know what? We might need to talk about that. We should work on that. Let's see where you are in the circle and the triangle, right? You know, am I going to meetings? Am I being of service? Am I doing outreach? So for me, it's just a gauge to stay humble, connected, and spiritually fit. Thanks.
Great question, Miley. Great answer, Lovey. Marissa, I'm so glad you have your hand up. Please come in.
Hi, everyone. Marissa May, alcoholic. Thank you so much, Lovey, for your share. You mentioned there that you cannot be sane, serene, or happy without being useful. And I'm just wondering, when you're unhappy, you're feeling insane, or you're disturbed, what are your go-to practices or your favorite things to do to become immediately useful and get out of that?
You know what I do? I find a newcomer. I find a newcomer. I find somebody who needs my help. You know, I talked about that little old lady in the grocery store, right? That's based on a real life experience, right? I had someplace I needed to be, but you know, the book tells me that I need to resolutely turn my attention to somebody that I can help. And I asked her, can I help bag your groceries? Can I take them out to the car, right? So I take the attention off me and I help somebody else. That's what I do. I'm always looking for a newcomer. I'm always looking to help somebody in one way or another. Because when I help somebody, I'm out of me. I'm the problem, right? I'm always the problem. And when I start taking care of God's kids, well, then there's less me. And when there's less me, there's more room for God, because nature abhors a vacuum. That's just what I do.
Thank you so much. Allison, come on up.
Great. Thanks, Alice. Hi, everyone. Allison, alcoholic. Lovey, thank you so much for your share tonight. I thought it was really powerful, and I love your energy. You mentioned that happiness is an obligation, and I want to know what your motives and experience behind that statement is.
My motives behind that statement. Well, if I'm going to be wholly useful, then I can't sit in self. I can't be woe is me, right? Listen, I've lived life. I've had things happen to me that were terrible, ugly, destructive, but I can't sit there. I need to move forward, and I do that through the strength of my higher power, through Alcoholics Anonymous. And I learned to see, you know, the book tells me that we need to look at the world from a completely different angle. And I know that's used in reference to resentments, but I get to see the good in everything today. Even when things are bad and ugly and hurtful, you know what? There is a silver lining. There is always something that I can grab onto and glean from it. And when I do that, right, see, for me, happiness is not like being jovial and, you know, laughing. For me, happiness is a state of being. right? It's like joy, that I can find joy and contentment in every situation. It might not be optimal, right? There could be illness, there could be death, there could be insecurity of all sorts of things, but I am serenely content in me because I know that my God has me, right? That I don't need to worry, that I'm okay, that I'm good. No matter what happens, I'm going to be okay. And there's no need to pick up a drink around that. So for me, happiness is this moral obligation. Just like Alcoholics Anonymous, the steps and the traditions are sacred obligations. And we're spiritual entities, and that's what I get to do.
Thank you. Great answer. Great question. My brother, you are up next. Come on in, John.
Thanks, Alice. Hey, Lovey, thank you so much for a great share. One of the things I notice is every time I do hear you share at a meeting, you're on the go constantly. Like you're definitely not wasting any time. So my question for you is, what do you do when you get hard on yourself about not connecting as much as you wish you could throughout the day, and how do you maintain the balance with doing the things you need to do to keep well and take care of God's children, while still remaining a little bit sane?
Well, I do what I just, what I said, right? It's like, hey, God, I'm going to the grocery store. Why don't you come along? Put your seatbelt on. Oh, hey, God, I'm getting on this plane. You know what? I got a seat for you. Please come with me, right? I invite God with me all of the time with everything. And now it's just second nature, right? It's kind of like, when you have a dog, let's go, get in the car, we're going for a ride, right? So I take God with me everywhere, and because I get to be useful and helpful, I don't find that I'm anxious. I don't find that I'm lacking serenity or contentment. I can go anywhere and still be quite content. Now I can get physically fatigued, and a nap will take that, because my sponsor will tell me, go take a nap. Take a nap. You need a nap, right? But that whole halt thing, right? Hungry, lonely, tired, whatever. So when I take care of those physical ailments, the spiritual stuff is always good, right? Because I nourish my spiritual fitness, my spiritual self, before I nourish my body. It's not always compatible, but that's what I do. And when I do that, guess what, right? People don't tend to bug me, but what my sponsor can tell when I am not spiritually fit, or when I'm having a spiritual bad hair day, because I'm not doing the things that I should have done. And as long as I do that, I'm good.
Thank you. So we're almost out of time, but I'm hoping that we can get Benny in for a quick one. And Lovey, I want to just remind you to check out the chat, because there's lots and lots of love in the chat for you. Benny, I want to invite you to come on in quickly. Let's try to get the last question in.
Hi, friends. I'm an alcoholic. My name's Benny. Lovey, I know I missed your talk on the weekend, but darn it, I'm so glad I'm here tonight, and listening to you. Your enthusiasm. They used to tell me, what's wrong with that guy? He used to report me to my sponsor, and to go and do a report. He's crazy. He's doing something. There's something wrong with him. He's 12-stepping winos in the park, and he's doing this and he's doing that, And my sponsor says, Benny found a new toy. It's called sobriety. Now, bye-bye. Move on, and your enthusiasm and that. And, I just want to make a comment and thank you. And my comment is that we are so fortunate for Zoom. We are so fortunate that there's a lot of young people who are, like last night at my home group, into the big book, into carrying the message, into getting out of ourselves, into unity of our fellowship and everything else like that. And what I've seen since I've been around since, 87? And what I see in the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous makes me quite proud to being the most amazing, miracle-producing fellowship there is. And Lovey, you're in, girl, and so are you, Olis. Thank you so much for your sobriety. Without it, I wouldn't have mine.
Thank you, Benny. What a beautiful way for us to end the evening. John, I want to turn it back over to you. And Lovey, we've got lots of love for you before the meeting's over.